Martin Luther King Jr. Day can feel like a pause button on life. One day a year where the timeline fills up with quotes, black and white photos, and familiar lines about dreams and freedom. You might feel a clean surge of inspiration, then notice it thinning out by dinner, like steam lifting off a mug. That swing is common. It is not because your heart is empty. It is because a slogan is easy to hold, and a practice asks you to carry weight. A slogan fits in a caption. A practice lives in your calendar, your tone of voice, your patience, your courage, and the way you treat people when nobody is clapping. That is why Martin Luther King Jr. Day can become a strange test. Not a test of what you believe, but a test of what you do when belief turns into friction. Because justice in real life rarely shows up like a clean movie moment. It shows up as an awkward conversation you want to avoid, a decision that costs you something, a moment where it would be easier to stay quiet, laugh along, look away, or tell yourself it is not your problem. If you have ever posted something about justice and then, later that day, snapped at a person who could not fight back, you already know the uncomfortable truth. It is possible to celebrate an idea and still miss the practice. It is possible to be sincere and still be asleep in the small moments. Not every discomfort is manipulation. Sometimes it's difference, noise, timing, or lack of skill. Awareness is clarity, not paranoia. Now, when I say justice is a daily practice, I am not asking you to perform heroics. I am talking about a kind of spiritual discipline, a habit of choosing fairness, dignity, and repair in the places where your life actually happens: your home, your group chats, your work, your street, your thoughts. Here's the first thing that makes this hard. The human mind loves closure. A slogan feels like closure. You say the right words, you align with the right side, you get that quick sense of being done. Practice is the opposite. Practice is unfinished by design. You do it today, then you do it again tomorrow, and you still find new blind spots. That unfinished feeling can trigger a quiet kind of resistance. Your nervous system wants relief. Your ego wants to feel like a good person without being stretched. And that is how a day meant to honor justice can slide into a day of collecting identity points. I want to give you a different way to hold this day. Not as a performance, not as a guilt trip, but as a mirror. A chance to notice one question. Where is justice asking for a smaller, braver choice from me this week? Let me make it concrete. Picture a regular morning. You are rushing. Your phone is already loud with notifications, and your brain is counting tasks. You stop for coffee. The barista looks tired. The line is moving slow. Someone ahead of you is confused about the menu, and you can feel irritation rising like heat. Justice, right there, is not a speech. It is the decision to stay human in a moment that tries to turn people into obstacles. It is noticing the tiredness in the person serving you and choosing a tone that does not add pressure. It is letting the confused customer have 30 extra seconds without punishing them with your eyes. That might sound small, but it is not trivial. Those are the tiny places where dignity is either honored or stripped. Those are the places where the world becomes softer or sharper. Now here is the trap. You can do those small things and still avoid the bigger ones. So we need both. We need the quiet practices and the courageous ones. We need the inner discipline and the outer action. The second thing that makes this hard is something psychologists call moral licensing. In plain language, it means your mind can treat one good act like a receipt. You did something right, so you feel permitted to do something careless later. The receipt sits in your pocket like permission. You see it in ordinary life. A person donates to a cause, then feels entitled to speak harshly to their partner. Someone posts a powerful message, then dismisses a coworker's concern with a joke. A friend shares a quote about empathy, then leaves you on red when you finally open up. None of this means people are fake. It means humans are complicated, and we often negotiate with our conscience. We try to buy inner peace with outer signals. So Martin Luther King Jr. Day can become a day of receipts. You retweet a line, you post a symbol, you share a photo, and your mind whispers, "See, you are on the right team. You do not have to change anything uncomfortable." But justice does not live in teams. Justice lives in the way you allocate care, attention, and courage. It lives in what you protect, what you ignore, and what you are willing to repair. That is why the real question is not, do I support justice? Most people would say yes. The real question is, where does my support become inconvenient, and what do I do in that moment? Because inconvenience is where practice begins. Think about a situation that is small enough to be real. A group chat where somebody gets teased in a way that is framed as humor, but you can feel the sting behind it. The target laughs along, but their laughter is thin. You notice, you feel it, then you freeze, because speaking up risks making things awkward. Justice there might look like one sentence, not a lecture, not a call-out. One calm interruption that changes the temperature. Let's not do that. Or, I don't think that's funny. Or, hey, you good? That sentence costs you something. It costs comfort. It costs the easy flow of being liked. It risks a strange silence. And that is why many people avoid it. Notice what happens in your body when you imagine saying that sentence. The tightness, the calculation, the fear of being judged. That sensation is part of the practice. Your nervous system is learning a new pattern, choosing integrity over approval. Another place this shows up is work. You are in a meeting. Someone has a good idea. They say it softly, maybe because they are tired, or new, or used to being interrupted. 10 seconds later, another person repeats the same idea with more confidence, and the room reacts like it is brand new. You see it happen. Justice there might look like giving credit out loud. That's what Maya just said. Maya, can you say more? Again, one sentence. It is not dramatic, but it changes the distribution of respect. These are the daily practices that build a culture. Now let's go one layer deeper, because this day is not only about what happens out there, it is also about what happens in here. Justice begins with attention. Attention is the door. If you do not notice patterns, you cannot change them. If you do not notice whose burden is invisible, you cannot redistribute it. If you do not notice how you are tempted to protect your image, you cannot protect your conscience. So I want to offer you a simple lens you can carry all week. It is a question you can ask in real time. Who is paying for this convenience? That question is sharp. It cuts through slogans. When you enjoy a cheap product, who paid in labor, stress, or safety? When you take the easiest option in a conflict, who pays in unresolved tension later? When you stay silent to keep the peace, who pays by being the only one uncomfortable? This does not mean you must become perfect. It means you become awake, and being awake changes what you can tolerate. Here is another micro story. You are with family. Someone brings up a social issue, and the room splits into two moods: the people who want to argue, and the people who want to pretend nothing happened. Then a comment lands that stereotypes a group of people, said with a smile, like it is harmless. You feel a choice point. If you let it slide, the room stays smooth. If you challenge it, the room gets tense. Justice as practice is learning how to enter that tension without turning into a weapon. It can sound like curiosity instead of accusation. What do you mean by that? Or, where did you hear that? Or, I'm not sure that's fair. Sometimes the person doubles down. Sometimes they soften. Sometimes nothing changes in the moment. But something changes in you. You refuse to cooperate with dehumanizing language. That refusal matters. Because dehumanizing language is often the first step toward dehumanizing behavior. Now, this is where people sometimes get confused. They think justice is mostly about calling people out. Or they think justice is mostly about being polite. Justice is neither of those. Justice is about repair. Repair is a spiritual act because it requires humility. It requires you to admit impact. It requires you to face the gap between who you thought you were and what you actually did. In real life, repair looks like apologizing without defending yourself. It looks like returning something you took, even if you took it accidentally. It looks like admitting you misunderstood someone and asking for the real story. And repair is not only for big events, it is for the daily ruptures that quietly shape relationships. If you have a friend you interrupt often, Justice might be practicing silence long enough for their full thought to land. If you dismiss your partner's feelings as overreaction, justice might be pausing and asking, "What is this touching in you?" If you avoid difficult conversations by being busy, justice might be setting a time and showing up fully. This is how Martin Luther King Jr. Day becomes personal. The holiday is public. The practice is intimate. Because the systems out there are often echoed in the patterns in here. Power, in its simplest form, is the ability to shape someone else's experience. You do not have to be famous to have power. You have power in your tone, in your timing, in your access, in your silence, in what you reward. So here is a question that can humble you in a good way. Where do I benefit from a pattern that hurts someone else? That question is uncomfortable, but it is clean. It is a doorway into honesty. Maybe you benefit when a certain person takes on the emotional labor of keeping the room calm. Maybe you benefit when someone else does the boring work and you take the credit. Maybe you benefit when you can speak loudly without consequences, while someone else gets labeled too much for the same intensity. Seeing that does not make you evil. It makes you awake, and awareness gives you options. This is where daily practice becomes strategy. Because once you can see a pattern, you can choose a different move. You can redistribute credit. You can share workload. You can invite the quiet person in. You can stop laughing at the joke that relies on someone being smaller. You can adjust your language so it does not erase somebody's experience. These choices sound simple, and that is the point. The practice has to be simple enough to repeat, but simple does not mean easy, especially when justice asks you to risk your social comfort. Here is another open loop you might recognize. Many people want to be seen as good more than they want to do what is good. That desire for being seen can shape everything. It can make you speak about justice in public but avoid it in private. It can make you correct strangers online but ignore your own habits at home. It can make you share a quote about love, then punish someone with coldness because they disappointed you. This is not a reason to hate yourself. It is a reason to get honest about the difference between identity and practice. Identity says, I am the kind of person who believes in justice. Practice says, I am becoming the kind of person who chooses justice when it costs me something. The second sentence is slower. It is less glamorous. It is more real. And it is closer to what this day can mean. Now let's talk about the place where justice gets misunderstood the most. Boundaries. People sometimes treat justice like endless giving. Like you must absorb everything, tolerate everything, and stay kind no matter what. That idea can turn you into a doormat with good values. But justice includes you. If your kindness becomes self-erasure, it stops being justice and turns into fear. So part of daily practice is learning how to say no in a way that is clean. No can be an act of justice when it prevents resentment. No can be an act of justice when it stops enabling harmful behavior. No can be an act of justice when it protects your nervous system so you can show up with clarity. This is especially important in relationships. You can care about justice in society and still ignore injustice in your own patterns. If you demand understanding but refuse to listen, that is imbalance. If you expect forgiveness but do not practice repair, that is imbalance. If you ask someone to change but you treat your own habits as untouchable, that is imbalance. Daily practice is learning to notice imbalance early, before it becomes cruelty. Here's a test you can try this week. When you feel the impulse to prove you are right, pause and ask, what outcome am I protecting, and what relationship am I risking? That question shifts you from performance to purpose. Sometimes you need to be right. Sometimes you need to be kind. Often you need to be effective. Effectiveness is a kind of justice because it reduces harm. Now, because we are talking about patterns, we should name the shadow side carefully. In some cases, people use moral language to control others. They use justice as a costume for dominance. They frame disagreement as evil. They demand purity. They punish nuance. In cases where there is gaslighting, abuse, or conditioning, moral language can become a weapon that confuses your sense of reality and keeps you compliant. If you are in a situation where you feel consistently afraid to speak, or you are constantly apologizing just to keep the peace, It can help to seek support from trusted people or professionals. That said, not every tense conversation is manipulation. Many conflicts come from stress, confusion, or unhealed wounds. The practice is discernment, learning to tell the difference between growth tension and harmful control. And discernment comes back to attention. So let me offer you a few daily practices that are simple, repeatable, and quietly powerful. First, practice truthful noticing. Once a day, notice one place where someone is carrying more than you are. Maybe it is a coworker who does invisible cleanup. Maybe it is a family member who makes sure the meal happens. Maybe it is a friend who listens to everybody but rarely gets listened to. Then do one thing to redistribute. Offer help without making it a spectacle. Give credit in front of others. Ask a real question and stay present for the answer. Second, practice clean speech. Before you make a joke, ask if it relies on somebody's dignity being reduced. Before you label a group of people, ask if you are speaking from experience or from a story you inherited. Before you post a message, ask if you are willing to live it in the next conversation you have. This is not about policing yourself into silence. It is about aligning your words with your conscience. Third, practice small courage. Pick one situation this week where you would normally stay quiet to keep things smooth, and choose a single sentence of truth. Not a speech. A sentence. It can be defending someone who is being dismissed. It can be naming a boundary. It can be asking for clarity when something feels unfair. When you do this, your body may shake a little. That is normal. Your nervous system is learning that courage is survivable. Fourth, practice repair as soon as you can. When you realize you hurt someone, do not wait for the perfect moment. Say it clean. I see what I did. I'm sorry. I want to do better. Then ask what repair would look like. Repair is not self-shaming. It is responsibility. Fifth, practice commitment without performance. Choose one action that serves justice in a way that is measurable and private. Volunteer time. Support a local organization. Mentor someone. Read a book and actually integrate it into your behavior. Vote in local decisions. Help someone with a practical need. If you do post about it, let the post be a doorway to action, not an ending. Now let's make it even more personal. There is a form of justice that does not get talked about much on holidays. Justice toward yourself. If you grew up learning that your needs were inconvenient, you might overextend and call it virtue. You might say yes when you mean no, then resent the people you agreed to help. You might tolerate disrespect because you think it makes you mature. Justice toward yourself is learning that your dignity matters too. It is the practice of treating your own boundaries as sacred. It is the practice of not using self-sacrifice as a way to avoid conflict. It is the practice of speaking your truth before it becomes bitterness. This matters because people who betray themselves often struggle to build just relationships. They either collapse into pleasing or they erupt with anger later. Neither creates the kind of world you want. A daily practice of justice includes a daily practice of self-respect. Here's another choice point. The next time you feel tempted to post a quote about justice, pause for 60 seconds and ask, what is one thing I can do today that would make that quote true in my actual life? Maybe it is sending a message to someone you have ignored. Maybe it is correcting a mistake you benefited from. Maybe it is paying somebody fairly. Maybe it is listening to a perspective you usually dismiss. Maybe it is slowing down so you do not turn people into obstacles. That one thing is your practice. And here is the strange part. When you do that, the holiday becomes less about inspiration and more about integrity. Integrity is not loud. Integrity is consistent. You build it the same way you build strength, by showing up again and again for small reps. That is why justice as daily practice is hopeful. It is accessible. You do not have to wait for a perfect moment. You do not have to wait until you feel brave. You begin in the next interaction. Let's talk about another reason practice is hard. Justice competes with speed. Modern life trains you to move fast, scroll fast, reply fast, decide fast, assume fast, and speed can be useful until it starts turning people into background objects. You can feel that shift in simple places. You're driving and someone cuts in. Your body floods with heat. A story forms instantly. They're selfish. They're disrespectful. They're the problem. In that split second, justice is not about pretending nothing happened. It's about noticing how quickly your mind writes someone off as less human, then choosing a response that matches your values. Sometimes the most just move is to slow down enough to keep your own nervous system from becoming dangerous, to breathe once before you honk, to remember you don't know what kind of day they're having, and also to remember you don't want to carry that anger into the next room you walk into. That might sound like self-help, but it matters, because a society is built out of millions of small moments where people either escalate or de-escalate. Here's a micro story that might hit closer. You're scrolling late at night. You see a clip that makes your blood boil. A comment section full of cruelty, people cheering for harm, people treating real human lives like entertainment. You feel the urge to jump in, to correct, to fight, to prove. And sometimes speaking up is appropriate. But many times the comment section becomes a treadmill. You spend your energy, and nothing changes except your mood. Daily practice asks a different question. Where does my energy actually reduce harm? Maybe you do leave a thoughtful comment. Maybe you message someone privately who is being targeted. Maybe you report something genuinely dangerous. Or maybe you take that surge of emotion and convert it into something local and real. You donate to a community group. You show up to a meeting. You tutor. You support a person you know who is struggling. You have a calm conversation with someone who trusts you. This is not about staying silent. It's about choosing impact over adrenaline. Another mechanism that trips people up is shame. Shame says, if I mess up, I am bad. Responsibility says, if I mess up, I can repair. A lot of people avoid justice as practice because they fear being imperfect. They fear saying the wrong thing, getting corrected, looking foolish. So they stay in slogans, because slogans feel safer than real relationships. But practice is built by correction. Imagine you say something that lands wrong. Maybe you make a joke that relied on a stereotype you didn't notice. Maybe you interrupt someone and only realize it later. Maybe you misunderstand a friend's experience and dismiss it too fast. In that moment, justice is not defending yourself with a paragraph. Justice is staying with impact long enough to learn. You can say, I hear you. I didn't mean to hurt you, but I see that it did. Can you tell me what you would have needed instead? That sentence does two things. It protects the other person's dignity, and it protects your growth. It turns a mistake into a lesson instead of a war. And if you're the person who got hurt, justice can also mean asking for what you need without becoming cruel. It can mean naming the impact clearly and giving the other person a chance to repair if the relationship is safe enough for that. This is where boundaries and compassion meet. Some people apologize quickly, then repeat the same harm. Some people learn slowly, but sincerely. Some people use apology as a way to end the conversation without changing. Discernment is watching patterns over time. If you notice a pattern where your needs are ignored, justice might look like a boundary that has consequences, not revenge. Consequences. Consequences are how reality teaches. For example, if a friend only jokes at your expense when the group is watching, you can address it privately and clearly. If it continues, you can choose to step back from that dynamic. That is not punishment. That is self-respect. Justice is not only what you fight for, it is also what you refuse to normalize. Now let's bring this back to the holiday itself. A lot of people know Martin Luther King Jr. Day as a day of speeches and posts. Many people also call it a day of service. That idea is beautiful, but it can still become symbolic if it stays once a year. So here is a practice that makes it real. Pick one form of service that fits your actual life and repeat it in a smaller way. If you volunteer one day, choose 1 hour a week you can sustain. If you donate once, choose a monthly amount you can keep. If you read one powerful quote, choose one concrete behavior that quote asks from you. Service does not have to be heroic to be honest. One way to think about daily justice is to notice your three main currencies: attention, time, and money. Attention is what you look at, what you ignore, and what you treat as real. If your attention is trained only on what entertains you, suffering becomes abstract. If your attention is trained on what makes you look good, people become props. But if your attention is trained on dignity, you start noticing who gets interrupted, who gets blamed, and who keeps the peace for others. Time is what you prioritize. It is easy to say you care and still have no time for the person who is quietly drowning. Practice can be as simple as putting a reminder on your phone to check on someone, then following through. It can be setting aside one evening a month to show up for a community project instead of another night of scrolling. Money is the part that people avoid talking about because it reveals trade-offs. But money is one of the clearest places where justice becomes real. Who do you support with your spending? Who do you underpay, even accidentally? Who do you expect to go above and beyond for you without being treated like a full person? Here's a small moment that carries a lot of meaning. You're at a restaurant or ordering delivery. You've had a long day. Something goes wrong. The order is late, or the food is not right, or the server looks distracted. You can feel that old impulse to turn the moment into a release valve, to speak sharply because you feel powerless somewhere else. Justice there is remembering that the person in front of you is not your stress sponge. You can ask for what you need without shrinking someone's dignity. You can be firm without being cruel. You can tip with the awareness that a small amount for you can be a meaningful difference for someone else. And if you are the one in power in a situation, even in a tiny way, practice looks like using that power to make the situation more fair, not more humiliating. Now, if you want a simple rhythm for the week, try this. Choose one day to practice noticing who gets overlooked, noticing where you rush, noticing where your comfort is built on someone else's discomfort. Choose one day to practice credit. Give someone credit out loud with clarity without making it about you. Choose one day to practice repair. Reach out to someone where you left a small rupture and clean it up. Choose one day to practice courage. Say one true sentence you usually avoid. Choose one day to practice service. Do one practical act that reduces someone's load. And choose one day to practice rest with integrity, because burnout can make good values turn into bitterness. You do not have to do all of that perfectly. The point is to give your values a place to land, and when you miss it, because you will miss it sometimes, do not turn that into a shame spiral. Return to responsibility. Name what happened. Repair what you can. Learn one thing. Then come back to the practice. That is the difference between celebrating justice and living it. Maybe it's helping an elderly neighbor carry groceries. Maybe it's tutoring a kid who is behind in school. Maybe it's bringing food to someone who works long hours. Maybe it's picking up trash in a place you walk past every week. Maybe it's offering a ride. Maybe it's checking on someone who lives alone. Justice becomes daily when it becomes scheduled, because what gets scheduled gets protected. There's another daily arena people forget. Money, in the way you negotiate and the way you value labor. Your spending is a vote. Your tipping is a vote. Your willingness to pay fairly is a vote. Your choice to buy convenience at someone else's expense is also a vote. You might not be able to fix supply chains, but you can ask better questions. You can choose a local business that treats people well. You can pay the person helping you like their time matters. You can stop negotiating someone's labor down to nothing just because you can. These moves feel small until you realize how many daily injustices are quietly financial. And there is one more arena that is even more constant than money. Attention. Attention is what you feed. If your attention only goes to outrage, your nervous system becomes addicted to anger. If your attention only goes to stories that flatter your side, your mind becomes narrow. If your attention only goes to people who already agree with you, your empathy becomes selective. Daily practice can look like widening your attention on purpose, not by consuming pain like entertainment, but by listening with respect, by reading someone's experience without turning it into a debate, by letting your assumptions be challenged without turning that discomfort into aggression. Here's a gentle choice point for that. The next time you feel defensive, try naming the feeling instead of feeding it. I'm getting defensive. Then ask one question that could move you toward understanding. What did I miss? Or, can you help me see what this was like for you? That move is not weakness, it is maturity. And maturity is how practice becomes stable. If you want a simple way to turn this day into a week, Try this before bed. Think of one moment today where you chose convenience over dignity, even in a small way. Think of one moment where you chose courage, even if it was quiet. Then think of one repair you could make tomorrow, even if it's just a message or a changed tone. You do that enough times, and you stop needing slogans to remind you what you value. Your life starts reminding you. One more thing, because this is where people get tired. The work can feel endless if you treat it like a constant emergency. When that happens, the mind reaches for cynicism, and cynicism can feel like wisdom. Practice is choosing hope that is disciplined. It looks like resting without quitting, celebrating small repairs, letting joy be part of justice, and returning to the work with a softer face. A person who can still laugh, still love, still see beauty, tends to stay human longer, and staying human is part of the point. And over time, those interactions shape you. They shape what you tolerate. They shape who trusts you. They shape what kind of presence you become in a room. People notice when your values are not just words. They feel safer around you. They feel more human around you. And that is a quiet form of change. Now, if you are listening to this on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, I want to leave you with one image. Imagine justice not as a poster on a wall, but as a path under your feet. A path made of daily steps. Some steps are gentle. Some are heavy. Some are awkward. Some require you to apologize. Some require you to speak. The path is not walked by perfection. It is walked by practice. So if you want to honor this day in a way that lasts, pick one daily step and commit to it for a week. Then pick another. Let your life become the proof. Because justice is not a slogan you repeat. It is a way you move through the world when repeating is no longer enough.